Why would a city that generates $75 billion in annual tourism revenue deliberately push away the very customers who built its empire? Las Vegas, once the playground where a factory worker could feel like a millionaire for a weekend, has transformed into something unrecognizable, a hollowed-out monument to corporate greed. The evidence is staggering. Visitor numbers dropped from 42.5 million in 2019 to struggling below 40 million post-2020, while average room rates skyrocketed 47%, and hidden fees now add $45 per night to every stay. Walking the Strip today feels like touring a gorgeous ghost town, where $30 cocktails and $500 minimum tables guard empty gaming floors. This isn't market evolution, it's economic suicide by design. Today we'll expose how Wall Street's takeover turned Vegas from America's adult playground into a hollow shell, proving with hard data that the Strip's emptiness isn't accidental, but orchestrated to extract maximum profit before the inevitable collapse. The Golden Era, when Vegas belonged to everyone. Picture the Las Vegas Strip in 1995, where 29 million annual visitors created an economic ecosystem generating $5.7 billion from gaming alone, supporting 150,000 hospitality jobs with average wages of $35,000, enough to buy a home in Henderson for $115,000. This wasn't just tourism, it was a masterclass in behavioral economics where casinos understood that making people feel wealthy generated more revenue than squeezing them dry. The business model was brilliantly simple. Offer $29 rooms, $7.99 prime rib buffets, and free drinks to anyone holding a slot machine button. These loss leaders weren't charity. They were calculated investments that kept visitors on property for an average of 4.6 nights, generating $867 per trip in total spending. Consider the multiplier effect. Every dollar spent on subsidized amenities generated $3.40 in indirect revenue through extended stays, increased gambling, and word-of-mouth marketing. The Mirage alone reported that their free volcano show, costing $250,000 annually to operate, drove an additional $12 million in foot traffic conversions to gaming revenue. Labor economist Dr. Mark Harrison's 1998 study revealed that Vegas's accessibility model created the highest tourism-to-resident income ratio in America. Every tourist dollar generated 42 cents in local wages. This wasn't trickle-down theory. It was a flood of prosperity where cocktail waitresses earned $65,000 annually with tips, more than many college graduates. The demographic data tells the real story. 68% of visitors had household incomes under $75,000, yet they accounted for 82% of total gaming revenue. Working-class Americans drove 10 hours from California, flew southwest from Dallas, and turned Vegas into their personal escape valve from economic pressure. Even infrastructure supported this democratic model. McCarran Airport added 15 gates specifically for low-cost carriers, while free shuttles connected every major property. The famous Las Vegas monorail, initially free, moved 27,000 people daily between casinos, creating a frictionless economy of movement and spending. The psychological brilliance lay in what economists call mental accounting. By subsidizing accommodation and food, casinos moved these expenses into visitors' already paid mental category. This freed psychological bandwidth for gambling, where the average visitor lost $565 per trip, but felt they'd received $800 in value through comps and experiences. Steve Wynn understood this intuitively, famously stating that his properties made people feel like they'd already won the moment they walked in. The Bellagio's free fountain shows, running every 15 minutes at a cost of $5 million annually, generated an estimated $40 million in incremental gaming revenue by keeping people on property an average 47 minutes longer. The employment ecosystem thrived on this model. A single hotel casino supported 3.4 indirect jobs in surrounding businesses. Taxi drivers averaged $55,000 annually. Restaurant suppliers expanded operations, and even dry cleaners prospered from convention traffic that stayed longer because prices remained reasonable. But this golden era contained the seeds of its own destruction. When Hilton Corporation's 1996 annual report showed their Vegas properties generating 31% profit margins, double their other locations, Wall Street's sharks began circling what they saw as under-monetized assets ripe for financial engineering. Wall Street's hostile takeover. the financialization of fun. The transformation began in 2004 when Harrah's Entertainment leveraged $12.4 billion in debt to acquire Caesars, creating a precedent that would fundamentally alter Vegas's DNA. This wasn't just a merger, it was the beginning of private equity's systematic extraction of value from America's playground, replacing casino operators who understood hospitality with spreadsheet warriors who saw only numbers. By 2007, Apollo Global Management and TPG Capital executed a $30.7 billion leveraged buyout of Harrah's, loading the company with $24 billion in debt that still cripples operations today. The debt service alone, $1.8 billion annually, exceeded the entire operating budget of many Vegas properties, forcing immediate cost-cutting measures that visitors felt instantly. The financialization playbook was ruthless. Eliminate free parking, generating $347 million annually by 2019, introduce resort fees, adding $543 million in pure profit, and reduce staff by 23% while demanding higher productivity. MGM Resorts followed suit, implementing dynamic pricing algorithms that adjusted room rates every 15 minutes based on demand, pushing average daily rates from $89 in 2005 to $209 by 2019. Private equity's influence extended beyond pricing. They fundamentally restructured the ownership model. Properties were split into operating companies and real estate investment trusts, REITs, with casinos paying rent to their own buildings, extracting an additional $2.3 billion annually from operations that once funded customer amenities. The data reveals the transformation's speed. Between 2010 and 2019, parking revenue increased 3,400% from essentially zero. Resort fees grew 450%, and food/beverage prices inflated 78% compared to 23% general inflation. Meanwhile, gaming odds worsened. Blackjack payout ratios dropped from 3 to 2 to 6 to 5, effectively doubling the house edge. Consider the Venetian's transformation. In 2003, their average customer spent $350 per visit, with 70% returning within 18 months. By 2019, average spending hit $780, but return rates plummeted to 41%, proving that extractive pricing destroyed customer loyalty faster than it generated profits. Investment analyst James Porter calculated that every dollar of additional fees generated $2.70 in lost lifetime customer value. Yet quarterly earnings calls celebrated these revenue optimizations while ignoring the hollowing out of Vegas's customer base. Middle-income visitors decreased 34% between 2015 and 2020. The corporate consolidation was staggering. By 2020, just two companies, MGM and Caesars, controlled 51% of strip rooms and 47% of gaming positions. This duopoly eliminated competitive pressure to offer value, creating an informal cartel where both corporations mysteriously introduced identical fee structures within months of each other. The financial engineering went deeper than visible fees. Casinos implemented time-on-device optimization strategies borrowed from Silicon Valley, redesigning slot machines to maximize addiction patterns rather than entertainment value. The average slot session lengthened from 23 minutes in 2000 to 71 minutes by 2019, while payout frequencies decreased 40%. Players lost money 34% faster, but psychological manipulation techniques, near misses, false wins, and variable reward schedules kept them seated longer. Revenue management systems, powered by artificial intelligence, began tracking individual customer behaviors to customize pricing in real time. Your room rate might differ from the person beside you at check-in based on algorithms analyzing your past spending patterns, home zip code, and even credit score indicators. This Orwellian pricing model generated an additional $890 million in revenue by 2019, but created a trust deficit that surveys show influenced 67% of visitors to reduce Vegas trips. The technology that enabled precision pricing also enabled precision alienation of customers who felt manipulated rather than welcomed. The human capital destruction paralleled financial extraction, as experienced casino hosts who once built decades-long customer relationships were replaced by call center workers reading scripts. The average host in 1995 managed 200 premium players personally. By 2019, they handled 1,400 accounts through automated systems, destroying the personal touch that created loyalty. Even entertainment fell victim to financialization. Resident shows featuring A-list performers command $300 $300+ tickets, replacing $40 production shows that ran for decades. The economic logic seems sound. Higher prices, better margins, until you realize empty seats don't buy drinks, eat dinners, or gamble after shows. The evidence. Quantifying the Strip's engineered decline. The numbers paint a stark picture of deliberate decline that no amount of neon can disguise. Convention attendance, once Vegas's reliable backbone generating $11.2 billion annually, dropped 31% between 2019 and 2024, with average booth costs increasing 67% while attendee satisfaction scores plummeted to historic lows of 6.2 out of 10. Real-time data from the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority reveals the crisis. Hotel occupancy rates, which averaged 91% in 2015, now struggle to maintain 83% despite reducing available inventory by 4,000 rooms through strategic closures. The famous Tropicana's 1,470 rooms vanishing in 2024 wasn't renovation, it was admission that current demand can't support existing capacity. Gaming revenue tells an even more troubling story. While headlines tout $15.5 billion in gaming win, the inflation-adjusted per-visitor gaming spend has decreased 23% since 2007, with slot machine counts dropping from 199,000 to 142,000 machines, a 28% reduction masked by higher minimum bets that exclude budget gamblers. The Formula One race, heralded as Vegas's salvation, generated $1.5 billion in economic impact. But at what cost? Local businesses reported 40% revenue drops during race week as barriers blocked access, while hotels jacked rates 400%, ensuring only the ultra-wealthy attended while regular tourists fled to Phoenix and San Diego. Pedestrian traffic data from mobile phone tracking reveals the Strip's average daily foot traffic declined from 340,000 people in 2019 to 248,000 in 2024, a 27% decrease that correlates directly with increased costs. The famous intersection at Las Vegas Boulevard and Flamingo Road, once impossible to navigate, now features visible concrete during peak hours. Restaurant closures accelerate the narrative. 31 major dining establishments shuttered in 2023 to 2024, including Gordon Ramsay's Pub and Bobby Flay's Mesa Grill. When celebrity chefs abandon ship, they're acknowledging what data confirms. Average restaurant transaction values hit $127 per person, pricing out 70% of previous customers. The construction pipeline reveals developer pessimism. Planned projects worth $4.8 billion were canceled or indefinitely postponed in 2024, including the majestic Las Vegas and Dream Las Vegas towers. Banks cite market absorption concerns, finance speak for nobody's coming anymore. Even sports betting, supposedly Vegas's growth engine, shows weakness. Despite nationwide legalization, Vegas sportsbook revenue grew only 2% annually since 2020, while online operators captured 76% of new betting volume. The Circa Sportsbook, a $1 billion investment, operates at 35% capacity on average NFL Sundays. Flight data confirms the exodus. Direct flight routes to Las Vegas decreased from 147 destinations in 2019 to 118 in 2024. Airlines don't abandon profitable routes. They're following demand patterns showing 22% fewer advanced bookings and 31% shorter booking windows. The retail apocalypse on the Strip provides visual evidence anyone can observe. The Forum shops at Caesars, once generating $1,400 per square foot in sales, now features 18% vacancy, with remaining stores reporting 30% revenue declines. The fashion show mall's foot traffic dropped 44% from pre-pandemic levels, forcing anchor tenants to renegotiate leases or exit entirely. Even luxury brands struggle. Versace, Fendi, and Tom Ford all closed Strip locations in 2024, citing insufficient traffic to justify astronomical rents. Credit card spending data reveals the demographic shift destroying Vegas's foundation. Transactions from zip codes with median incomes below $75,000 decreased 47% between 2019 and 2024, while high-income zip codes increased only 8%, nowhere near enough to offset middle-class abandonment. The average transaction size increased 67%, but transaction frequency dropped 52%, proving fewer people are spending more individually while total revenue stagnates. This concentration risk mirrors what killed Atlantic City, relying on whales while alienating the ocean of smaller fish that sustained the ecosystem. Water consumption data provides an unexpected indicator. Daily water use on the Strip decreased 23% since 2019, correlating directly with reduced occupancy. The Bellagio fountains now run reduced schedules, saving $400,000 annually in water costs while inadvertently acknowledging fewer people are watching. Employment quality metrics expose the hollowing out. While Vegas claims record employment, full-time positions paying benefits decreased 41,000 since 2019, replaced by gig workers and part-time positions. The average hospitality worker now juggles 2.3 jobs to match previous income, destroying quality of life while padding employment statistics. Bankruptcy filings among Strip-adjacent businesses increased 340% in 2024, with suppliers, entertainers, and service providers drowning in unpaid invoices as casinos extend payment terms to manage their own debt service. The ecosystem supporting the Strip is collapsing faster than the Strip itself. The human cost: how corporate greed destroyed a community. Behind every empty hotel room and closed buffet lies a human story of economic devastation that ripples through 631,000 residents who once thrived on tourism's prosperity. The systematic destruction of middle-class casino jobs has created Nevada's highest wealth inequality coefficient at 0.482, exceeding Manhattan's disparity in a city built on working-class opportunity. Maria Rodriguez, a 47-year-old cocktail server at Caesars for 22 years, saw her annual income drop from $76,000 in 2018 to $41,000 in 2024, despite working identical hours. The culprit? Customer traffic in her section decreased 60% as $25 table minimums pushed gamblers to phone apps, while mandatory tip pooling diluted her earnings by 35%. The housing crisis directly correlates with tourism's decline. Las Vegas experienced 19,000 foreclosures in 2023, the highest rate since 2010's recession. Casino workers who bought homes when hospitality jobs paid living wages now face mortgage payments exceeding 50% of reduced incomes, while property taxes increased 34% to fund corporate tax breaks. Union data reveals the employment catastrophe. Full-time hospitality positions decreased by 34,000 since 2019, replaced by 41,000 part-time roles offering no benefits. The Culinary Union reports members' average hours dropped from 38 to 27 weekly, pushing thousands below poverty thresholds, while companies celebrate labor efficiency improvements. Small business destruction accelerates geometrically. The Arts District lost 40% of locally owned establishments in 3 years as tourist foot traffic evaporated. Tony's Pizza, operating since 1973, closed after monthly revenue dropped from $120,000 to $35,000, unable to survive on local patronage alone when 70% of customers vanished. Mental health statistics expose the psychological toll. Nevada suicide rates increased 19% among hospitality workers between 2019 and 2024, while anxiety medication prescriptions rose 43%. Dr. Susan Chin at UNLV's psychology department directly links economic instability to mental health crises, noting emergency room visits for panic disorders doubled among casino employees. Educational impacts cascade through generations, as Clark County School District reports 8,000 student families left Vegas in 2023, the largest exodus since tracking began. Teachers describe classrooms where half the students' parents lost casino jobs, creating instability that manifests in 23% increased absenteeism and 31% lower test scores. The comparison to Atlantic City's collapse becomes unavoidable. That city's casino employment peaked at 49,000 in 1997 before dropping to 21,000 by 2014. Las Vegas follows an identical trajectory, just 15 years behind, suggesting 40,000 additional job losses if current trends continue. Community organizations report unprecedented demand. 3 Square Food Bank distributed 47 million pounds of food in 2024, a 280% increase from 2019, with 61% of recipients being former or current hospitality workers. Catholic Charities' Emergency Rent Assistance Program exhausted its $4 million annual budget in 4 months. The demographic transformation tells everything. Workers aged 25 to 34 decreased by 27,000 between 2020 and 2024 as young families flee, while the over 65 population increased by 31,000. Retirees trapped by underwater mortgages watching their city die around them. The future: Revival or permanent decline? Las Vegas stands at an inflection point where mathematical models predict either renaissance through radical restructuring or irreversible decline mimicking Detroit's hospitality sector collapse. The path forward requires acknowledging that current strategies, sports stadiums generating 12 event days annually and convention centers sitting empty 200 days, cannot offset the fundamental breakdown of Vegas's economic engine. The international competition intensifies exponentially as Macau's gaming revenue exceeds Vegas by 340%, while Singapore's integrated resorts generate higher per-visitor spending despite offering free attractions that Vegas now charges for. Dubai's hospitality sector grew 23% annually by embracing the value proposition Vegas abandoned: accessible luxury rather than exclusive pricing. Technology disruption accelerates the crisis. Virtual reality gambling platforms captured $4.2 billion in 2024 revenue that previously required physical Vegas visits. Younger demographics show 67% preference for online experiences versus destination gambling, suggesting Vegas's core product faces obsolescence without fundamental reimagination. The recovery blueprint exists but requires admitting corporate strategies failed catastrophically. Analysts propose eliminating resort fees immediately, cutting room rates 35%, and reinstating free parking, moves that would restore price competitiveness with regional gaming markets currently stealing Vegas visitors. Economic modeling by MIT's Tourism Studies Department suggests the Great Reset strategy. Accepting 18 months of reduced profits to rebuild customer loyalty could generate 45% higher revenues within 5 years through increased visitation and longer stays. The math supports this. Acquiring new customers costs 7 times more than retaining existing ones. Labor market restructuring becomes essential as current wage suppression created a hospitality worker shortage even amid high unemployment. Offering $25 hourly base wages, a 40% increase, would cost casinos $1.8 billion annually, but generate $4.1 billion in increased local spending and reduced turnover costs. The diversification imperative cannot be ignored. Vegas must evolve beyond gambling into technology, renewable energy, and healthcare sectors. The city's solar potential could power data centers supporting 50,000 tech jobs, creating economic resilience beyond tourism's volatility while maintaining entertainment as one pillar, not the only foundation. Public-private partnership opportunities abound if leadership abandons corporate welfare. Redirecting the $750 million Raiders Stadium subsidy towards small business grants would create 8,000 jobs versus the 600 part-time positions the stadium generated. Basic math, corporate interests deliberately obscure. Infrastructure investment becomes critical as McCarran Airport's aging terminals and limited capacity constrain growth. A $5 billion modernization program would increase capacity 40%, but funding requires casinos paying fair tax rates instead of the current 6.75% gaming tax that hasn't increased since 1987. The ultimate question becomes whether entrenched interest will accept temporary profit reduction for long-term survival. Historical precedent suggests otherwise. Atlantic City's corporate owners extracted value until bankruptcy rather than investing in recovery, a pattern Vegas appears determined to repeat despite clear warning signs. Las Vegas isn't dying from bad luck. It's being hollowed out by corporate greed that mistook a golden goose for a cow to be milked dry. The evidence is undeniable, the math irrefutable. What's your Vegas story? Have you witnessed this decline firsthand? Comment below and subscribe for more unfiltered economic analysis exposing America's hidden truths.